have to, all of these places where they do intersect. And we're working with groups now, or philanthropists, where they care so much about education or the strong economy. I recently met with a group and they said, show me this argument. You said you have data. And I'm showing them like 3 slides. And this man said to me, I see how you're doing this. You're showing the ripple effect. I said, yeah, but this is not made up. This is real. I mean, this is all backed by data. And so it's evidence-based. So we're not guided by ideology. We're guided by data. Okay, and that's coming out directly, but it's also these stories. Inspiration is a big key. And here's the other one. Big philanthropists give to big, bold ideas. Okay, they want to be part of something bigger. And how do we're in a watershed moment where, yes, everything is getting destroyed. And I think about what could be rebuilt. And how do we paint that picture where we have some positivity? And what could it look like? Don't think yet about the number. Think about what could it look like. That's how we inspire them. We connect, we give them the language they need to hear. And by the way, I meet people where they are. So if I know I'm meeting with someone who really cares about a certain topic, that's where we're starting. If I have a donor who lead with women and girls, we start there too, okay? But I think for too long, the sector, when we only talk about women and girls, you miss the men and the boys, the families, the whole societies we impact. Folks, your work is really foundational to humanity. I mean, the creation of life. And I think there's so much more we could do. We have to be more open and broader in scope.
So I want to take a pause really quickly just to mention something I probably should have said at the onset. So all of you will see that in the center of your tables, there's a little notepad. And the purpose of that is for questions. So if you have questions that have occurred to you either before you join the session or as Janice is describing Prysm, you're welcome to jot them down. And then we have, I think, 2 representatives here joining us in red on either side of the room. They will go around and collect these questions that you have. And then at the end of the session, we'll bring these questions up and we'll have time for, I think, maybe 3 to 5 questions total. So I hope that sounds good.
Great. Thank you, Phil.
Sure. So next question. So of course, as you've already mentioned, Janice, reproductive health is a huge field. How will Prysm decide which issues to elevate to philanthropists? For example, between contraception or maternal health or gender-based violence or data or other topics. So how do you all have a sense of what you prioritize and how you deliver this to philanthropists?
Boy, that's a big question. Okay, so first, our focus is giving donors choices where philanthropy can have the greatest impact on the greatest need. Remember, we don't fund. We elevate and highlight all of your work. We meet donors where they are. So if a donor comes to us and says, I am so concerned about commodities, is there truly a crisis on supplies? And what would ground truth that for us? Is it supply chain? Is it? So yeah, we will go deliver on that, but frankly, we have to educate them on the entire ecosystem. There's so much to our work that's underfunded. And yes, there's advocacy, there's data, and we're taking a look at how we are bucketing our work. I'm so proud to tell you that Lana Dakin, who just departed from Packard after nearly 20 years as their head of global reproductive health, will be joining Prysm starting January 5th full-time to help advise us. I know. Am I lucky or what? And so Lana will be very key to us about how we are organizing and also helping us create these programs for what to lift up to our donors.
I think by virtue of the applause you just heard, I think
Yeah.
we all know Lana and love her and totally respect and admire her institutional knowledge for the field. So I think the fact that she's joining Prysm is really commendable. So congratulations for that. I'm not sure how you managed to steal her away from Packard, but nice work. So good job with that. So next question, from your perspective, what sets Prysm apart from other intermediaries in this space? I feel like we hear a lot more about various strategies to try to approach these philanthropists. So how is Prysm different, and how do you ensure being additive to the field rather than duplicative?
So, you know what's interesting? We're really a multiplier, okay? We're not a middleman. I'm just an interlocutor for you all and also for the ultra high net worth. I mean, I know how they speak, and I have to understand how you all talk, and then we make that matchmaking. So I want to reiterate, we are not a pooled fund. So the donors get to choose. We are also, we created a graphic. Someone asked me for it. How are you different from Lever for Change or these pooled funds? Yeah, we are not any of those. We have a slide that says, you know, for a lot of the people we want to work with, they want to ask for bespoke white glove. They want only advice for them and their families. And so it's really meeting them where they are. And based on the investments they make, they want to go see the impact they can have on this sector. So that's really, we will work with other intermediaries. There are many others out there, and pooled funds, because frankly, there's not enough right now. And we want to be smart also about how we're directing our philanthropists and their dollars to the right projects, right? And so I just want to say, the way we're working is we are really giving donors the choice.
Great. So I think at the onset, one of the things you said, Janice, is just acknowledging the field and how much has changed in the last 9 months, which still I think is hard to sort of comprehend overall. But this obviously presents a very different environment for you than what you expected just about a year ago. So things like USAID's closure. So with their closure and broader cuts to public health, global health, and family planning and reproductive health funding, how has Prysm adapted its strategy, and what role do you see for philanthropy in sustaining reproductive health in this context?
I think there's so much opportunity now. So I'll tell you all, as we were trying to figure out how to present some of this to donors, so yes, we will create these buckets based on, we're kind of grouping things for service delivery, commodities, right? A lot of the things you all are working on. But then on the investment path, we've created 3 different buckets. There's a bucket on sustain, and that is, how do we just make sure that the work happening now continues, because it's so needed. Can't go away, it's critical. Then we have a bucket on transform, and that's the work that is also happening, but we should be scaling up and trying elsewhere. Then we have a new bucket called innovate, and that is co-creation, or maybe a philanthropist is willing to take more risk. And so they're seeing something that we haven't yet presented, and those start at 50 million. Okay.
So the group of people that you're targeting and working with on this, these philanthropists, we know that they often come with strong preferences and ideas for how they want to impact the field. And we as a field might have, of course, we have our own preferences too. So how do you balance that? So how do you balance their preferences and their wishes for how they want to impact the field with where we see the need is greatest from our perspective?
So I have to tell you, most people don't come with preferences. Most people actually don't know. That's why they're coming to us. That's why they're asking for advice. They want to know how they can be helpful. And frankly, they're being brought to us. People are so curious about how we might work with them. That, you know, Phil mentioned these cuts and how much has changed in the landscape globally. And then I think about philanthropy in general, how it's changing daily. I mean, think about, so here's what I'm seeing, and there is a rise of next-gen donors. These are the children of these billionaires who are seeing they could make a difference and they're wanting to be informed. There's also a rise of female philanthropists. In the next 15 to 20 years, this is that big wealth transfer that's taking place now. It hasn't happened yet, and so the real wealth still belongs to, yes, white men, old white men. But it's shifting. And so I'm telling you that the creation for Prysm and a climate lead, that is why this is so needed, because, and so they don't know yet. And so we are just impartial guides. We are honest brokers for them and for you.
If you don't mind, maybe I could ask a quick follow-up question to that. So
Please.
what you just described is sort of a generational change where right now the wealth for these, you know, high net worth individuals, philanthropists, you know, it sits in the hand of one particular demographic group. But then you noted that that's changing over time. So have you seen like different changes in ideology between these generations?
Oh,
you know,
yes.
as there's this turnover?
Yes, I feel like the next generation of philanthropists are probably going to be willing to take more change. I have two young children, and I think they're going to save the world. They're 21 and 23 years old, and thank God they're there. And I really think I'm so hopeful about what's coming, right? So we just have to hold on to ourselves because it's changing. I will also tell you all that some of the people we're already working with, yes, they believe in this work. They do. And I just think we have to meet them where they are and give them pathways where they feel comfortable as well, right? I am leaning on so many of, like all of you, the people in this room. Prysm does not create ideas. We don't create programs. We're a multiplier for what you all are doing. I think there's so few individual philanthropists giving to this space. If we could just increase the size of that, double the pie, triple the number, right? I mean, we have to start somewhere, folks.
Absolutely. So as you know, Janice, the theme of the conference is equity. So I want to ask a question about how that fits in with Prysm's philosophy and your approach. So how does Prysm ensure equity in funding, making sure that resources reach marginalized communities and smaller locally rooted organizations that are often closest to the impact that we're all trying to make?
Oh, yeah. So I want to say it again. Our focus will be lifting up those investable programs or projects, groups, where philanthropy can have the greatest impact on the greatest need. So I have right now a team of 6, and Lana's coming soon, thank goodness. We will be, the way we're looking at equity and making sure we get the money out to the groups is, I know we're taking a look at which regranters, implementing partners. I see one of our friends here, Amplify Change. I was introduced to very early on. There's FOS Feminista. Today we just met with, actually, we're getting introduced to 2 other groups because we've got to make sure we get the resources out to the folks who already know the work, are doing their own due diligence and vetting, right? We want to be very efficient about how we're doing this. And so we don't want to create anything new or recreate something that's already existing.
So we obviously there are some sensitivities in the field, and some of the work that we do is sensitive to some, although obviously highly critical to us. So I'm curious about Prysm's own philosophy internally. Are you willing to support sensitive areas like abortion and comprehensive sexual education? Are you willing to fundraise, help us channel funds from these philanthropists for these causes as well?
So Prysm doesn't make grants. We just direct philanthropists there, and yes, okay, work like safe abortion, work on HIV. I think of all the other things that may have stigma for some of these supporters. Again, when you meet donors where they are, all we do is lift up, illuminate, and then make offerings. So yes, we will be supporting all of that work. Okay, I want to assure all of you, we do not stand for just one, two, we stand for the whole sector.
That's great to hear. So shifting gears from these sort of more sensitive topics to sort of broad, talking about accountability and learning for Prysm.
Yes. Yeah.
So, obviously if funds are brought into the field to help support the work that we do, we want to make sure that there's accountability for it,
Yes.
and we can track the impact that this money makes.
Yeah.
So what type of monitoring and evaluation do you expect from organizations you direct this funding to? And how do you keep that reporting manageable for smaller organizations?
So once the match has happened, so let's say we call one of you and say, great, they love the concept, we're now going to be requesting a more detailed proposal. We'll need a budget, X amount, right? We would be brokering all those interactions. We are going to be pushing for right-size, flexible reporting. So here's the deal. We don't exit these relationships, right? We will be with you every step of the way. On the other side, we're also guiding these philanthropists how to give in a way that we'll be working with brand new people who have never done this, okay? And so we are also teaching them trust-based philanthropy and giving you all, there will be metrics, but it will be in concert with all of you. Okay, so it's two ways. We will be working with you on your reporting, and we're trying to create standardization on that for how we do it. Because remember, we're going to be working with numerous groups and numerous philanthropists. So everyone should be held to one standard. It's easier to read. All right, and typically the way philanthropists give, it is not a one and done. If they feel great, right? I mean, there's something so wonderful about the joy of giving. Then this relationship continues, right? And so for us, for our own metrics, we will be talking about the amount of money we've moved, but also we'll be talking about, with help from all of you, really the difference we've made for the sector. So
Prysm is a new entity, and we know that you all are still developing and also hiring, with Lana joining you very shortly. But I also have a sense that all of you are thinking longer term about where Prysm is going to be in the future. So could you talk a little bit about where you see Prysm in 5 to 10 years? And what do you hope Prysm's legacy will be for our ecosystem, maybe in 5 to 10 years from now?
10, it seems so far away, doesn't it? I feel like it's, boy, these first 10 months have felt very long. Okay. Let's talk about 5 years. Yeah, it'd be amazing if in 5 years we have totally created a new size of your pie. I mean, if we can grow it. So remember, all we're trying to do is multiply and build on what's existing. Actually, we need to be bringing new actors here. Philanthropy is shifting, and I think it's the place where there's agility and a little bit more risk-taking. So let's see if we can inspire these folks to come join us.
So I thought of a few follow-up questions to some responses that you gave earlier. So maybe if you don't mind,
Please.
backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
For me personally, I think just the idea of dealing with philanthropists is intriguing, and it's a world that I am not exposed to at all. So I'm obviously very curious.
Yes.
One thing you mentioned is that there's this generational change, and we talked about that a second ago. And I was curious if you wanted to speak about maybe other changes in this philanthropic field, that you've been exposed to in terms of things like the size of gifts,
Yes.
as well as trust-based approach in philanthropy. So what are you seeing in those areas?
Well, okay, so I know some of you are recipients of Mackenzie Scott. Boy, she just did her next round of giving. It's amazing what she's done on trust-based philanthropy. I think she is leading the way and really inspiring other donors to try to be more like her. I'm also seeing bigger gifts happening. Because first of all, these folks are making a lot of money. I mean, think about Mackenzie's last stage of giving, right? Where Amazon is doing so well. I mean, they can't give it away fast enough. And so that's why these big, bold ideas are something we really need. For someone like me, there is such a tension about approaching ultra high net worth philanthropists and getting them excited about what we do, and then making sure we can deliver on our ideas. So we've just gotten started, folks. I think about Climate Lead and how many strategies or investable ideas they have. And these philanthropists will be very different, each one of them. But for the most part, they want to do good. And they want to be in a community with like-minded people. And so that is really what we're building. So bigger gifts, bolder ideas, okay? And how do they work together? So I think one of the things I'd love to have you join us in is first, trust us. I have spent so much time getting to know some of the heads of your organizations, just to build a little trust and community for myself, that I can call on people when we have prospects who say, I care about this in this country or possibly this region. What do you have? Okay. The other one is work with each other, because frankly, philanthropists are also understanding what's at play. I didn't understand until earlier this week just how stark, or what a huge funder the US was for all of global public health and this space. And so I think more collaborations in the field, because frankly, these philanthropists are also looking for systems change. I mean, they want to know what will make a difference. How did they really change it?
So a dynamic that I think you've described, the picture I'm getting, is that you have these philanthropists who are, well-intentioned people that want to contribute to the field. And some might have sort of their own ideas, maybe, or some sense of the field, maybe. But a lot of them might not. And, you talked about how complex, our field is. So can you talk a little bit about, again, how you sort of simplify the reproductive health landscape in terms of things like, barriers, levers, and an investment path?
Yeah, so yes, okay. So one of the things we're starting to build now is a document to just kind of do a context setting, level setting for these prospects. So when they meet with us, they kind of understand, what the heck is global reproductive health? Is it just family planning? Is it abortion? Is it reproductive cancers, maternal health? I mean, there's so much to this. How does it all connect? Okay, so we're creating something where, what are the barriers for access? Then what are the true levers for change? And those are like how these investables might be organized. It could be everything from data to research to advocacy. It could be movement building. There's so many parts to that, okay? And then the last piece is their investment track, right? I mean, and of course, then if you think of a matrix, okay, all these cross sections, where's the intersectionality? And then where are the geographies? And then you have to ask, well, what's the size of their appetite? Just how much risk are people willing to take? Do they need to see impact right away? Can they wait 5 years? Right, so we really get to know our folks. And individuals are frankly easier to deal with, I think, sometimes than institutions. You all have been dealing with USAID. I can't even imagine. You know, but it's also not like, I don't have lunches and come home with checks, okay? Just so you understand. These are real relationships. This is not transactional. This is trust.
Yeah, and obviously that takes time and effort to build and,
Yeah.
and is not overnight.
Yes.
I have one last question, and then
Yeah.
I have a set of questions in front of me from the audience.
Wow.
But the last question, I think, is one that I'm sure is on everyone's mind at this session,
Yeah.
which is how can we best partner with Prysm?
Oh, folks, please, all right, so we will be looking for your ideas, your bold solutions. Think beyond your own NGOs. Think about the whole sector. What could we do together, right? What would true systems change look like? I mean, yeah, the financing gap is huge, and how do we fix that? So Lana will be starting January 5th, and then we're trying to create right now how we best get your ideas, because we're creating a database of this. And we also understand that these ideas, of course, are fluid, right? We worked with a handful of groups early on, mid-year, and all these ideas have to get refreshed, you know, commodities, the supplies, it all changes, and so we will be keeping up with you. Okay, so that's the first one. The second one is please lean into the collaboration with us and give us some trust and also a little room, because we're building it. I'm trying to build it as fast as we can do it. I understand the need. And we're trying to get there as fast with you. I want you to know, I think our timing is perfect. I think there is interest. I really do. I think we have to meet them where they are.
All right, well, my interrogation is now complete,
Okay.
Janice.
Wow, Phil.
Thank you.
Okay, now comes the
Thank you
harder
very much.
part. I know Phil was the easy audience, and so I'm
right.
looking at like my friends' faces smiling.
Exactly. Smiling as they are eagerly anticipate your responses to
Yes,
questions.
yes.
So this first question goes back to, again, sensitive topics.
Yeah,
So the question is simply abortion.
yeah.
And by that, my interpretation of that question, which maybe someone
Yeah.
can elaborate on if they'd like, is more, how do you see abortion dynamics in the space among these philanthropists?
Let's see. I think some people will be against it and some will be for it. But I will tell you, I've been in rooms where both support it. And there is a high level of respect amongst billionaires. Whatever side of the aisle, whether a climate denier or not, I mean, it doesn't mean they don't work together. And frankly, I think it's fascinating for someone like me who's been doing this for almost 30 years now, how people, it's interesting the strange bedfellows you find yourself in when you share a common goal, okay? So I would not, remember, we're standing for safe abortion, for all of reproductive care. That's family planning, commodities. We are for low infertility. We're owning all of this. So if you were restating or re-asking, are we going to lift up projects that are supporting abortion? Yes, the answer is yes.
Great. Second question, again, is going back to a point that we discussed a little bit before. So the question is, in this time of political turmoil and financial instability around the world, do ultra high net worth individuals appreciate trust-based philanthropy?
I do. You're seeing it. All right. I don't know how many of you track the Chronicle of Philanthropy, where every week they're listing all of the brand new gifts, 50 million plus. Yes, there are, even in this environment, and by the way, they're killing it. They're making so much money. People are giving money. Okay, there's money to be had. And you know who's gotten really good at this? And this is why in the US, this is where a lot of philanthropy goes, are universities. Those are a lot of trust-based gifts. There's not a lot of restrictions. Yes, they get naming rights and all of that, but it's largely unrestricted. So there's 3,500 billionaires in the world. 43% of them are American. Of the 3,500, only 1,600 give to anything. It's less than half, okay? And so we're after those folks who are already giving. And a lot of them are new to this space about how to give. I mean, a lot of the people I work with really they're self-made. And you know what it is? This is a conversation on values. A lot of them were taught to give by their parents. It's their family. They were taught. And so, but because they're also business people, they want to learn how to give right, smart. And that's where people like us come, because we would do, so the meeting the money, but then the sourcing, the due diligencing, the vetting, right? And making sure there's a return on investment, okay?
So this next question, I think, is a great question because it's not something that we've talked about before, and I think it's really important for everyone here. So from these philanthropists that you talk to and engage with, do you have a sense of like what geographic areas they might be interested in? Is this domestic or abroad? And if it's abroad, like where? Do they have geographic preferences? So how much do you think that you've seen that?
So I should tell you all, Prysm was built for the Global South. Okay, so we will be directing funds to LMICs. If they are working in the US, we're directing them, again, to LMICs. And so far of the people, I really thought this. In January, when I first took this role, I thought, wow, our donors will be mostly American families. And I now think it's not. I think we're going to have global families who will invest in this space. To date, most of the people I've been talking to, no one has talked to me about the US. They've all been asking, where's the greatest need? That's easy to answer, right?
So going back to the Prysm entity itself. So you mentioned that Lana is going to be coming on board pretty soon.
Yeah.
How big is the Prysm team overall? Do you want to talk a little bit more about your team structure?
Yes, okay, so I just hired my leadership team. Let's see, they're all here, frankly. I have Luke Greaves, who's sitting here up front. He's my VP for Operations and Strategy. I have Becky Medley, and I said your last name right? Okay, she just got married. She is my VP for Communications and Events. And I want you to know our storytelling, you're starting to see it. So I can actually present our work in two different ways, dependent again on the audience, right? Because I have to tailor it for where they are. That way it opens the door. I have over here on this side, I have a woman named Vivian Lee who's been with me since I got hired. She's been serving as my strategic advisor. She's going to be helping Lana. There you go. She's out of LA. And then next to her is Sandra Bailey, who has, boy, she's been keeping everyone honest, and she's running the whole team. All right. And so I've got Lana coming on board. We're about to hire 1 to 2 philanthropic advisors, possibly even a head of partnerships. And what's really happening is I'm trying to grow as fast as the interest is happening. We're so new, folks. You can't even find us. The website doesn't even tell you how to get a hold of us, and people are finding us. Philanthropists are finding us. They want to know, what are you ready for? And I'm thinking, give me just a little bit more time, but we are having initial early conversations now with people, okay? And then our size will be dictated by our success, not just how we're moving the money, but also with you all on the generating of these ideas and where we're directing funds to.
So that's a great segue to the next question, Janice, because this one pertains to ideas. Who's on your menu of offerings, and then how do you choose among those who to put forward?
Wow, that is a detailed question. I think, so I told you we're already working with Amplified Change. Yeah, I met with them in February. I got a chance to present to some high net worth individuals in Europe who wanted to learn about grassroots groups in LMICs. And so they directed me to the right places. Of course, we're working with some of the biggest ones, you know, the MSIs, PSI, DKT, see all these acronyms, okay? There's IPASS and then gender health. We just met with the reproductive health CEOs. But then we're also working with groups like TICO. Yeah, I see Benoit here on the audience. Frankly, we have about 80 names right now of strategies and programs, okay, that we have been slowly developing. And of course, we're informed by not just all of you, but our funders, right? But again, we're not just carrying their water. We are honest brokers for the sector.
So the last question goes back to data. So you mentioned that Prysm is data-driven, yes, you know, and you really value data, yeah, in what you do. Mm-hmm. So this question is, Prysm leverages data and evidence. Yeah. Where does your data and evidence come from? And what data sources to you have been the most compelling?
So we work closely with Jason Bremner at FP 2030, of course, Martin Smith at RHSC. Guttmacher has been feeding us so much intel, FP 2030. And then in addition to that, we look at data from the World Bank. We have, and it's been compiled for us, folks, okay? So I'm very lucky. Prysm is very lucky because when we need data, we're calling 3 people and they are pulling it together for us. And if they don't have it, they're trying to help me figure out how I get it. And then of course, I've got Phil, I've got the Hopkins team, I've got the Gates Institute. I see Oying right here. He's like the best connector. He's like, I mean, his history, he's like telling me, oh, this is the person you need. See?
Great, and I'm sure there are others. It seems like you're pretty well immersed in the field already, Janice. That's great.
Yeah.
So that gets us through our questions.
Yeah.
I think maybe we could all take a second just to give Janice a round of applause for taking the time to describe it.
I want to thank all of you, and if you just give us a little more time, all right? Let's see what we can all deliver. And let's work on it together, because frankly, it's not just us or these philanthropists. You all are a huge, huge key to unlocking this capital. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Janice. It's been a pleasure.